Video from the outdoors. Yes, lovely out again. It's just summer, very nice weather. Right into September and such. Still praying mantis is about. Yeah, she likes that spot. Been there for 3 days. Yeah, quite awful actually. I mean, it really is. Life is just horrible. You know, when you actually witness this stuff going on and you know, see the little beasties do their thing, the whole eating of the prey alive, and it's just quite awful. They have already started laying eggs. That's a praying mantis egg case. I don't know whether they do more than one. I was thinking that some females, I guess if they get big enough early enough, they can do 2 patches, because it does seem a little early. Here's the other one here. It's got a funky wing, I have noticed. So it goes after the little bees that come down for the little flowers. Gets an awful lot of them. There are 4 of them in this area here, pretty much. Let's see if I can find another one just for fun. Yeah, these bees really get picked off. Bumblebees. Yeah, so, yeah, they're not as, the 2 are usually I can find. There's 2 more somewhere, but they're not as usual or regular. They're sneakier, maybe that's it, sneaky. Used to be here, but it's not here. It's not over there, so won't waste too much time looking. Alright, anyway, the subjects I want to get to, the whole Thunderfoot debunking thing. He debunks bullshit, is what he debunks, and even subjects like feminism, he can't take any of it serious, in the sense that, yeah, it's really easy to argue with the fringe, you know, of a subject, you know, the people who just go way, 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 way too far. Yeah, so I mean, you know, that's the easy target, it's kind of the cheap way to fight the fight, in the sense that you know, there's probably some metaphor for it, but there, you know, it's kind of an obvious weakness, and so instead of really dealing with a subject, he just deals with fanatics, and you know, that's just stupid. So anyway, but there's 2 subjects that have bothered me for quite a while. Well, there's lots of subjects. The whole legal system, democracy, all that stuff needs fixing. The whole economic system, as I pointed out earlier, videos. You know, we got to remodify this whole capitalist greed thing. Really stupid. You know, it's we have to turn self-interest into a more productive, functioning element of our psychology, and I think that can be done. So anyway, yeah, sorry if the movement bothers you. It pleases me. Yeah. Anyway, everything's all messed up. Anyway, so electric cars and solar energy, really irritating subjects. You know, because people think electric cars are a solution to some fundamental energy problem, and they really aren't. They don't run on not energy. They don't necessarily run on clean energy. All they really do is move the stink, the poisonous exhaust to some other location, you know, to the suckers who live next to the nuclear plant, or, you know, the suckers who live next to the coal burning plant, or whatever sucker you want to point to. That sucker gets the shitty end of the stick, so to speak. And in some sense you could say there's a certain necessity to it, though, just because of smog and the health implications of city life, that electric cars would fix some of that. But that's it. It doesn't fix any of the underlying problem. And it's just this idea that it's kind of sold as if it is, like it's a green technology, and it's not really green. And in some respects, I think it could be argued. I think if somebody like a Thunderfoot analyzed it objectively and fairly, that it may well be ineffective in the sense that the conversion of the power has transformers in the way, so to speak, losses, systems of loss and waste between the vehicle moving and the source, the polluting source of the energy. And that waste is real, you know. So if you're getting 50 miles per kilowatt or whatever on your your electric car, if you can convert it into real fuel, the truth is it might be more fuel just because of the losses that you spilled, essentially a lot of the gasoline in the process of converting it into electricity and then storing it in batteries and pulling it out that way. And all those conversions create heat and loss, energy loss. So I think the rational argument could be made that this isn't our solution. The solution is to, oblige people to drive in more moderate vehicles, vehicles that don't supply, that aren't mobile homes. And we should have systems to eliminate all the unnecessary travel. And so certainly we could have now employment remotely is easily done. The call centers are retarded in a sense. You don't need a bunch of people because we can all be watched at home with a camera. You can have technology take care of the dishonesty of the employees. You can still watch them. You can still put monitors up their ass or whatever you want to do. So we can have huge efficiencies in the fact that we don't transport labor unnecessarily. We don't move it around, don't jostle it and bang it about for no good reason. And it's no good reason. It's all just convenience to the capitalist. It's not convenience or to the welfare of the society. And then the whole shopping thing is likewise retarded. To have all the individual cars go to the location, it's sort of like a library. A library would make more sense to have one vehicle that gets everybody requests for the day, fills the vehicle with the requests, and then just transports the books to the people. Far more efficient than the other way around. The post office is more efficient. Having a truck bring the mail to your house is a lot more efficient than for everyone to get in their car and drive to the post office. These are the kind of things that should be debunked, in the sense that this is a huge inefficiency for our society, that people go to the store and have to personally pick out the item and do this nonsense, when all of this should be able to be done on computers. And if the capitalists aren't willing to invest in this idea, then we as a society should, for our own welfare. Just as if they're not going to provide cheap, safe transportation, then we as the public should do it. But clearly I would do this as non-profits, and I've already been through all the subject of how to do that. But the point is people ought to be pointing out how these are huge inefficiencies. These are things that are being done catastrophically the wrong way. And so Thunderfoot, as far as I know, he'll debunk solar energy when applied in a silly manner, like to make oxygen for some sort of tankless underwater gear. That's an idiotic idea. Or some stupid idea that we should make roads out of solar panels, which is a silly, retarded idea. But he won't pick on solar panels on roofs, which is the huge industry across the world. And it hasn't reduced people's electric rates, and it's not producing necessarily efficient solar energy. It's, in fact, probably more than 50% waste. So instead of maximizing the money and fuel, the oil that went into the production of the solar panel, and the resources pulled out of the ground, and the pollution, the arsenic and the other heavy metals pulled out of the ground to make the solar panel, instead of maximizing its efficiency, we have chosen a method of distribution that is at least 50% inefficient, and that the real value is lost to plants dead. This drought thing is, you miss a place here or there for a little while and you're really quite doomed. Sorry about the airplanes. It's probably not very good. Yeah, it's very quiet here. It's just busy helicopter airplane moment. So it's always something. You always pay a price for this outdoor thing. You pay a price for the whole life thing, the whole thing. Yeah. Ugh. Way too messy. Too expensive. Bad idea. Somebody should debunk life. Oh, I guess I've done that. Harshly inefficient. Brutally. Nastily. So anyway, but yeah, solar energy on roofs, it's just a gimmick. And I can point out some of the basics, but yes, if we're going to do this scientific debunking, this is the kind of thing Thunderfoot ought to scientifically debunk. Is, the whole idea of having a bunch of individual power plants on houses that can't do much to fuel the grid, and whatever they're fueling to the grid, they're fueling with individual technology, in the sense they all have to have individual inverters and meters, and these inverters and meters are expensive, and they also have a lot of waste in them, heat and loss, and so this, because it's done cheaply to be done individually, so instead of making good hardware that does the job efficiently, highly efficient, it's a bunch of crappy hardware doing it inefficiently. So another loss. So you have the loss of not pointing the panels at the sun, which is stupid, to maximize exposure, and then you have hardware issues that also degrade the performance of the panels, in terms of you're forcing the electricity into a to be phased, and the technology to do that well enough to put it on the grid is going to be expensive and wasteful. And so to me, these are the subjects that need debunking. Is the way that society is, in so many respects, losing huge amounts of productivity to these commonly performed stupid acts. You could almost argue that advertising, if you really thought about what's taking place, the Google monster, here we have a search engine that's the biggest marketing company in the world, and what was the internet supposed to do? Well, the internet was supposed to straighten the line between consumers and producers. We should just have to directly buy from the producer, and he could reduce costs. But instead of that, because of this whole advertising game, if you want to buy a Dell computer, for example, you're likely going to get a better deal by buying it through a retailer, because the retailer is going to get a better deal from Dell than you are. And so you're stuck with the retailer does the advertising for Dell, and in compensation for that, Dell rewards it by giving it a cut rate price. So you end up paying for advertising you didn't need, because you already knew what a Dell computer was. You already wanted one. And yet you still had to pay to advertise it. And you paid a lot. So yeah, I would like that debunked. I'd like advertising debunked, in the sense that I would like somebody who has the time to do this, to analyze how much money per product, per average dollar spent in the retail market, how much of that average dollar is spent on marketing. Paying people to design logos and paying people to figure out what color the can should be, and paying people to figure out how to, or paying stores or retailers, bribing them with kickbacks to figure to get the better space on the shelf, to get in front of the aisle instead of the back of the aisle. How much all that chicanery is part of the price we're paying for everything. And huge companies, corporations like Google, making zillions of dollars, billions anyway, you're paying for it. Their profits are made out of the over cost you're paying for everything you buy. All this inefficiency, all these jobs. So instead of people thinking about physics and falling on the unification theory and doing other clever things, smart things, things that would improve our lives, like actually soldering wires together and fixing things that are broken and putting shingles on roofs, and instead they're doing this nonsense work of, you know, figuring out how to manipulate a consumer, fool him, sucker him, trick him into buying shit, mostly shit. So yeah, it's so lamentable. But so again, this just sort of goes to my argument that you can't have civilization this sloppy, selfish way. This let's do it the, hey, you know, give it to the shysters to sell. Let's do it the snake oil way instead of some kind of rational way where the consumer is informed, or at least is informed that it's a racket, that he's getting screwed, and you know, it doesn't have to be that way. We can have better mechanisms of checks and balances than those of some stupid consumer market where, well, as long as the product doesn't kill you, they can get away, and they can get away with it. They'll get away with compromising you. So they'll compromise you in any way possible until some point where it becomes unviable in the competitive market because, you know, they don't want to be accused of murder. Yeah, but that's sort of what it comes down to, is until they cross some unlucky line, you know, in Bhopal or something, and some place blows up, they will cut every corner and cheat you in every manner possible, within the boundaries of reasonable risk of getting caught. But that's the only risk that matters, getting caught. The unethics of the process doesn't bother them because they're making their money. So anyway, this should bother people, that all this inefficiency exists, and there doesn't seem to be very many taking the time or expending the energy to pointing out that we don't have to do it this way. We can have a smarter civilization than this, but it does require more than just me to advocate for it. And it certainly requires people like Thunderfoot, instead of pissing on people who are seeking social justice, to concede that there's an element of this theme that's perfectly rational. So you don't have to be a communist to recognize that capitalism doesn't work. This is sort of the argument I'm making. You don't have to attacking communists is a waste of time. What you should do is try to reform them into understanding that they have to moderate their sense that everybody's entitled into something more reasonable and proportional to what it requires to migrate from one system to another. Yeah. So instead of people like Thunderfoot just become part of the problem because they attack the idea of efficiency in the guise of they shoot the baby, you know, to get to the bathwater, something like that. They step on it, whatever the analogy is. Yeah. So anyway, so I need to elaborate. So I mean, like I said, I can go into some more technical details of why things can't work the way they work and why we should be trying some other technology, like even solar panels themselves, the photovoltaics. This is not the best way, the most efficient way to take the energy of the sun and convert it into mechanical energy. The more efficient mechanism is to use mirrors and heat water tanks. So even if you were to have a solar farm, that is, put up the photovoltaics on a big field somewhere, no trees in the way, you know, and they can all tilt to perfectly follow the sun, unlike the standard application on a roof, and you'd have one big inverter to create the alternating current that the grid runs on. So you'd have a huge efficiency in terms of maximizing the potential of the panels. But even more efficient is to go with the simpler technology, which is creating mirrors. Mirrors are a lot cheaper than a solar panel, and heat water and basically run a steam engine with no smoke, and, you know, a turbine, and generate the electricity in this very clean manner, where you can actually control environmental damage and lots of things that you can't do with certain other applications like windmills and other things. But anyway, so that's the way to acquire the sun's energy, the more efficient way. And then even the idea of heating a water tank, if we applied some research to thermoconductors, thermocouples, this idea that you fuse two pieces of metal together, unlike metals, and they will create an electropotential across them as you heat them. And that might be even more efficient, and those thermocouples have become, there's many applications now where they're actually used to heat things and cool things, because they do work very well. So I mean, you could theoretically use a thermocouple and take away even the necessity of heating the water. But anyway, yes, but now that's part of the discussion. It's just all, you know, it's all engineered to make people think they have a solution in photovoltaics. And not only is it not a solution in terms of its efficiency in the real world now, its potential is limited, and if you add up the real costs, there's better technologies. And we as humans in a civilization shouldn't find it at all troubling, the idea of saying, well, yes, instead of doing it the wrong way individually, let's do it the right way collectively and save half the money. Pay half as much. Maybe even a quarter as much. That really shouldn't offend smart people. So unless the United States is full of idiots, that idea of doing something collectively and in a mass production kind of way, which is supposed to be a positive business theme, the idea of mass production, the efficiencies of mass production, well, the same efficiency rules apply to collective production, collective organization. It has the same efficiencies, maybe even greater efficiencies. And we should not find that offensive, you know, to our individuality, to be rational and sensible, especially in the circumstance where this, like all the previous 6 months, will be the hottest September in recorded history. Yeah. You know, it seems there's all kinds of incentives beyond just being rational. I mean, it should just be enough for me to say you can save half the costs. You can eliminate half the work that is wasted. You can put the people to work who are now wasting their time shuffling idiotic paper, doing something else idiotic, and fix the problem. So it's like the immigration thing, right? I mean, people, all this talk, all this energy. You know, Thunderfoot ought to debunk the Trump wall and just point out that if you want to stop immigration, you can stop employment by simply imposing sanctions on employers. It works. It was tested. It works. It's cheap. It's easy. And it'll also create reason to actually make Social Security numbers mean something for a change, which they broke in the first place because criminals, apparently, as a voting bloc, are significant enough to keep us from wanting any accountability. So, you know, you just can't figure, it's almost impossible for me to imagine how a system could get broken that is so simple. I mean, the idea of having a registration number that would be updated to account for where I live and state things the obvious, like I'm dead or I'm not dead. I mean, to have that much of a government number, you know, merely pointing out where I live and whether I'm dead or alive, you know, that doesn't seem like a horrible invasion of my privacy. And yet, and that system would make it possible not to have any reason for people to illegally enter our country. So you can fix it without any walls, without bullshit, without soldiers, without guns, without any of that crap. You can fix it. But clearly they don't want to fix it because it's good for business. And people have to realize that the businesses are doing isn't the business of civilization. It's just the business of getting rich. And that's not going to be in your interest. And people have to realize that. They should be able to without me saying it. You know, the writing is on every fucking wall. But things are the way they are. So anyway, so yes, I don't see any point in us arguing with people who are, I mean, you know, I argue physics. I'm not going to waste time arguing flat earthers. I'm not going to waste time arguing God botherers and who think they're physicists. That would be a waste of time. I'll argue things that are that have some kind of that the argument has some kind of measure of viability, some connection to reasonable perspective. That's what Thunderfoot should be doing. But anyway, enough of a video. Really is charming here. Cat. Oh, just one. Oh yeah, there's the other one there. Well, where's the yellow one? The other ones must be around here somewhere. And of course flowers. It's all quite, yeah, it really is quite nice. So anyway, sorry for those who don't like the outdoors in the video, but it's the way it came out. You know, that cat, look, really does, you know, I've been feeding him for at least 12 years now, at least, and he still hates my guts. But there's people watching my videos for 9 years now, and they hate my guts. So I guess that shouldn't surprise me. I apparently have guts that are easy to hate. Oh, there's a big cucumber hanging down over there. I have to go collect him today. Anyway, until the next time.